Heaven I tube, it's Abla, and today I wanted to speak about the importance of gardening and foraging over farming and the dangers of farming. So obviously we do not want to do any type of farming, especially large scale farming, because farming actually destroys the land and can be considered one of the first quote unquote what people like to call like new world orders. Farming was one of the first steps away from naturality. So it was one of the first quote unquote new world orders by um, the forces at hand that are against our natural order, of course. So the implementation of farming um, and large-scale farming and farming culture that really rules the world now was one of the first quote-unquote new world orders. um, I say one of the first, of course, alongside like money and things like that. You know, on the dollar it says a new order of the ages. So many people actually now in the age of information like to think new world order quote unquote has to just do with the pandemic, because it's the age of information and many people are awakening through this time. But actually this is nothing new. Actually the forces at hand have been working towards the destruction of our naturalities. So things like currency, false illegitimate currency, things like farming, those things work to strip our naturality, similar to the solution they have given during this pandemic. So it's really nothing new. And I wanted to talk about the root, something close to the root, which is farming. Farming was one of the first things that took us away from our natural living because it disrespects the land. Today we have large scale farming to fill our grocery stores, and even in native cultures, not their original culture, but they're still native, but not every single native culture is following their original way. So farming has become a big part of life, and it destroys the land. It does not have any respect for the land, and it's really commercialized. So the growing of food, the destruction of land to grow crops, farm crops, is like a virus on the earth. I'm sure we know how much of the earth is being destroyed for the farming of crops to fill our grocery stores, to even fill the markets when you're in Africa. That all comes from farms pretty much. To fill all the large markets, say the fetish market in West Africa, it's all coming from farming. So of course we do not want to continue with any farming. What is natural is foraging, and to supplement that, which you don't need to supplement that, but as we're growing, to supplement that, small scale gardening, because we never want to farm crops, because like I said, that's like a virus on the earth. Especially as the human population has become just so gross. Farming and food and gluttony is like a virus. So farming has become commercialized, and it's a virus. So we don't want to do that. Foraging from wild food that grows, wild plants, not crops, wild plants that grow to support your body. And then of course gardening as you are learning foraging. Even myself growing in that mindset, because not all of my ancestors, most of my recent ancestry comes from large farming culture in West Africa. There's a large farming culture over there, and the growing of crops, many crops to support the overgrowth of population. So even myself, I'm rewriting that in my DNA, literally, to move away from farming. And many people will move to Africa or wherever you move to the continent to start a more natural way of living and then start farming. But we don't want to do that. What we want to do is small scale gardening and also foraging, because like I said, all we need is what we have been given, which is why we forage, because everything has been given to us. The land has been compromised, which is why we also need to supplement with things like gardening, small scale gardening that will not destroy the earth, and have knowledge on different techniques of gardening and different plants that support the environment and are not invasive to the environment, things that support the flora and fauna and are cohesive with the ecosystem that we're in, because everyone and everything is cohabitating. We're not trying to become viruses as humans. We're not trying to take over the earth. We're trying to be one and support symbiosis in our environments, right? So yes, that's very important to have knowledge on foraging and gardening, and to know that farming is actually destruction, and farming actually works against the will. Farming is like, as I've said in videos before, it's like we've been given everything we need, but it wasn't enough. So we become a virus to support our gross overgrowth, right? We're given everything we need, but it's not enough. We're ungrateful children. We are the ungrateful children, which is why we do things like farming of crops and destroying land, because we think it's worth it to support this population overgrowth that has occurred. But yeah, if anyone has knowledge on foraging and gardening, that's great to have knowledge on, and very supportive of community, because when starting a natural community, it's very important to move away from things of the world, even the things we might not know are worldly, like farming. We might just think of it as a food production method, but really, like I said, it's virus, and it's comes from that root, that seed that was planted of ungratefulness and going against the will and going against naturality and what some people like to call New World Order stuff. So yes, we here in our community, will focus on foraging and small scale gardening. Like I said, if you have knowledge on that, that is great and helpful and useful to have, because it's very important. Like I said, even myself, recent ancestry coming from farming, we all have to grow and move away from that. So yeah, just wanted to talk about that, touch on that today. Yes. Hope everyone has a blessed day. I hope this was understood. Good eye.